Hello student, I'm Mr. Leung. So in this video, I am going to talk about the ecosystem part 3. It's about the cycling of material. So before I talk about the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle in these notes, okay, I would like to remind the concept of the cycling of material first. Remember that how can we describe the ecosystem? Actually, we have 3 terms to describe it. Okay, so for the ecosystem, remind the basic concept here first. Okay, the first terms we use, that's the self-supporting, or what we so-called the self-sufficient. That means it already contains all the resources, okay, all the material we need, maybe gas, maybe mineral, something like this. Okay, and the second point is that it's also self-sustaining. Okay, that means we do not need to be afraid that all the material, they will be used up, they will be all consumed. Okay, don't worry. Okay, because this concept self-sustaining, okay, is talking about the cycling of the material. Okay, and that's why we have the third terms. Okay, that means the dynamic equilibrium. Okay, so everything actually is moving. Okay, but finally, okay, the level of those substance, okay, it is relatively constant. Okay, it's relatively constant. So that's the basic concepts which we call, okay, before we talk about the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle. Okay, so for the cycling, okay, actually it involves the organism and also the physical environment. Okay, so first of all, not that difficult to understand is that the material, okay, can be transferred from one organism to the other organism. So that's what we learn in food chain. Food chain, okay, not only talking about the energy flow, okay, but it also represents the material flow. Okay, so in this part, the material in the grass can be transferred to the grasshopper and then transfer to the birds. Okay, so that's the material. Okay, and of course, mainly, okay, when we talk about food chain, actually our main focus is about the energy, but it also involves, okay, in the concept of cycling of material. Okay, and between the organisms, okay, after that we need to think about if the organism, okay, they excrete, they eject, or they die. Okay, so how can we release those organic substance, okay, to the environment again? So that's why we have the interaction between the organism and the physical environment, and we need to decompose. Okay, we need the decomposer to decompose the organic material to the inorganic material. Okay, so in the chapter 9, when we talk about the plant nutrition, okay, actually those organic material, we have another terms to describe it, that's the complex. And for the inorganic material, we have another terms, that's simple. Okay, simple inorganic material, complex organic material. Okay, for example, protein, for example, carbohydrates, something like this. Now for the inorganic materials, okay, it can be carbon dioxide and also maybe the nitrate, something like this. Okay, or the mineral salt. Okay, we learn in the chapter 9. So that's why in the decomposition, okay, organic thing, they must be decomposed to become inorganic material first. Okay, and also one word I would like to talk about, that's the organic material such as the detritus. Okay, detritus, that means actually a mass of decaying material. Okay, detritus, a mass of decaying material. Okay, so actually this decaying material, it comes from the excreted or ejected waste or our dead body. Okay, after we die, actually our dead body will be decomposed, okay, to become those decaying material, okay, detritus. And finally, okay, once the inorganic material, okay, they are really decomposed and then so-called released to the soil, go back to the nature. Okay, so that's why the physical environment, okay, it will provide the material to the organism again. Okay, and of course the organism, what we are talking about, that's the producer, the plant. Okay, they can absorb those inorganic material from the soil. Okay, so and then the story will go back again. Okay, organism to organism, and then all will die or excrete or eject, okay, and then those organic substance will become inorganic material, okay, by the decomposer, okay. So that's the simple diagram to show that the feeding, okay, and also the death or excretion, ejection, okay, and then the decomposition, and finally absorb again, okay, to become a cycle, okay, of the material, okay. So after that, we go to page 2, okay, to talk about the carbon cycle, okay. So for the carbon cycle, you need to know that, okay, actually, when we are talking about the carbon cycle, okay, I would like to have some common language with you guys first, okay. After we talk about it, okay, I want you to be able, okay, to draw your own cycle, okay, by yourself, okay, not only for memorizing all the thing, okay. You can and you are able, okay, to write, to draw your own cycle, okay. So when we talk about the carbon cycle or the nitrogen cycle, okay, something we need to know that is talking about the return, okay. I will use the red ball pen to represent, and also the removal, okay, of the material. I will use the green pen, okay, green ball pen. And finally, okay, maybe in the nature, okay, the material, they are just being transferred, okay. So that's why I use another term, transfer, okay. So I use a blue ball pen, okay. So actually, when I construct the cycle for you, I will use these 3 different colors, okay, to describe it, okay. And especially for return and remove, okay, I would like to talk about that. Once we talk about remove from somewhere or return to somewhere, okay, actually we have a standard point, okay. So in the carbon cycle, the standard point, okay, that's the atmosphere. So that's why in the page 2 we talk about removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And also on page 3, okay, when we talk about return, okay, that means we return of the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, okay. I will use the atmosphere as the standard point, okay, to talk about the interaction and the cycling of the material, okay. So the carbon cycle, okay, actually is a bit easier than the nitrogen cycle, because actually it doesn't involve so many types of bacteria, and also it only involves one pathway of removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, okay. And I think all you will know it, that is the photosynthesis, okay. So write it down here, removal of the carbon dioxide, okay, from the atmosphere, that's the photosynthesis, okay. So that's why that's the by the producer, okay, autotrophic, okay, photosynthetic autotroph, okay. So they can absorb the carbon dioxide, and then with the water, that's something you learn in the carbon in the photosynthesis chapter, okay. So I do not talk much about it, okay. And then the glucose can be converted to other carbon compound, protein, lipid, cellulose, starch, something like that, in the plant body, okay, in the plant body. So how about in the animal body, okay. So that's why I use another color, okay, to represent, okay, the transfer of those material, okay. So the material from the plant, okay, can be transferred to the animal, okay, of course by feeding, okay. That's something we learn in the food chain, right, okay, feeding. But remember that after feeding, okay, the other steps, okay, is much more important. That's the assimilation. Assimilation, that's what you learn in the chapter of digestion, okay. It means uptake and use, okay. It means uptake and use. After the ingestion, okay, you eating something, and then you need to digest it, and then you can absorb it, and then you can assimilate it, okay. Uptake and use those material you intake, okay. So that's the from the plant to the animal, okay. So in this part, I would like to introduce the idea, okay, of how can we draw the cycle, okay, by ourselves, okay. So at least we have 3 steps, okay, for us to analyze the whole cycle, okay. The first step is that, okay, the removal and the return, okay, in a natural way. That means in case all the organisms they do not die, so can the material, okay, be cycled in the nature, in the ecosystem, okay? So in the carbon cycle, imagine, okay, we do not die, okay? Imagine we do not die. So is it possible for us to return, okay, the carbon dioxide go back to the ecosphere? Of course we can, because for the animal, okay, we can undergo respiration. And for the plant, okay, they can also undergo respiration, okay? So at least you know that recipe, okay, respiration. So if we do not die, at least this cycle is already done, okay? Something removal and then return, okay? So actually it's a kind of cycling already, okay? But for the second step is that, no lah, Mr. Leung, we must die. Everyone will die, okay? So after death, so who will deal with our dead body? Okay, so that means we need to think about the decomposer. Okay, those bacteria, those fungi, we need to think about them. Okay, so the second step is that if we die, if we eject or excrete, so what will happen? Okay, so continue using the blue ball pen. Okay, animal, plant, okay, we shall die. Okay, death, okay, and apart from death, okay, any other process, okay, it will also produce some waste, okay, so maybe excretion, okay, and for us we have digestion and excretion as well, okay. So for a human being, it's not that difficult to understand. Digestion, undigested food removal, right? Okay, excretion, metabolic waste removal, okay, urine, that's the excretion, the feces, that's the ejection example, okay. But for the green plant from Mr. Leung, okay, I have never heard that the plant they can have they can remove the feces, or okay, they can produce urine, or I never heard about it. No, I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about the shading of leaves, okay. That means the falling of leaves, okay. So for example, in winter, okay, the plant will fall off some leaves, okay, and actually those leaves contains the waste, okay, that is also the excreta, okay. So think about it, death or decomposition, okay, what do we need? We need the bacteria to help us, okay. So that's why, okay, it's a way for returnable, okay. So for the return is that for the dead body, okay, is a way to return the carbon in the dead body or in the excreta to the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So it is the decomposition, okay, decomposition, okay. So that's why we need the bacteria for us, okay. So after that, okay, we know that if we do not die, how is it possible for the return and removal, okay. And the second one, if we really die, okay, if we really produce some waste, okay, so how can the bacteria help us, okay, the decomposer, the bacteria help us. And the third steps to help us to analyze the cycle is that any human activity is involved, okay, any human activity. Okay, so in this part, okay, you can see the fossil fuel, okay. So actually we start from the dead body. For the dead body, okay, if they are buried in a deep soil, okay, so actually they may undergo the process what we call fossilization. That means the formation of the fossil fuel, okay. What do we need? We need high temperature, we need high pressure, okay, and also we need the bacteria action, okay. We need the bacteria to help us to form the fossil fuel, okay. And then where is the human? Okay, what do we do to the fossil fuel? Okay, we use it as the energy source, okay. So we shall use combustion, okay. okay, to the combustion of the fossil fuel, or to produce energy, for example, to drive the engine, okay, drive the aeroplane, drive the car, something like this. Okay, so that's the combustion of the fossil fuel to produce CO2. Okay, so that's something you know it. Okay, so actually by using these 3 steps, okay, you have already be able, okay, to analyze the whole cycle. Okay, actually I want you not memorize all the things. Okay, release your brain power to analyze it, to think about it. Okay, don't always think about that. Oh, biology is all about of rote learning. Memorize. No, sorry, it's not biology. Okay, so if you would like to memorize something, okay, go to study Chinese. Don't study biology. Okay, so for this part, return. Okay, so what do we need now? Respiration. Return the carbon dioxide. Okay, go back to the atmosphere. And also the decomposition. Okay, so we need the bacteria, we need the fungi, okay, to decompose the dead body or the excreta. Okay, they will be decomposed, okay, by the bacteria and by the fungi. And finally, it's about burning or combustion. Okay, so burning is not only about the combustion of the fossil fuel. It can be the forest fire as well. Okay, something natural, and something is the human activities. Okay, so in this part, my logic is that I want you to think about more about the human activity, because in the concept, okay, what we are going to learn in the elective 2, apply ecology. Okay, we always think about the human activity. How can we, human being, okay, do something, do the impact on the environment? Okay, so after that, we do some question, okay, for quick revision as well. So this question is talking about the flow of the carbon in the ecosystem. Okay, so in this part, remember, okay, cultivate a good habit for yourself. Okay, when doing such question with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, those labeling, okay, and then you see that the question is already asking you about the process. You need to identify the process. So the good habit is that identify the process first. Okay, must be a good thing. Okay, so for the first step is that the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere go to the plant. Okay, very easy lah, photosynthesis. Okay, that's the one and only one removal of the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, right? Okay, and then for process 2, animal, okay, to release some carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, and the plant release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So 2 and 5, it must be recipe. Okay, so at least you know that. Okay, from these 2 process lah. Okay, number 1 is photosynthesis, so this is wrong. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, so only B and C can be the answer. And then for 2 and 5, okay, they are respiration. For respiration, it's not decomposition. Okay, so that means only so-called C and D. But we know that D is already wrong. Okay, but at least we need to do the rest. Okay, so 3 and 4. 4 is that the humus, okay, is converted to the atmosphere. Okay, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, so what is it? So what you need to know is that I would like to remind this word term first. Okay, that's the humus. What is the meaning of humus? Okay, humus, that is something what we so called decaying organic substance. Okay, decaying organic substance or organic material. Okay, it's decaying. Okay, that means they are under decomposition already. Okay, some bacteria, they are doing something on them already. Okay, so that's why they are decaying, ing. Okay, so for number 4, humus to become this part, okay, actually is decomposition. Okay, so decomposition already, so that's why the answer is C. Okay, and so how about 3? What is 3 actually? So you know that dead body, okay, to become humus, something decaying. Okay, something decaying, that means it also involves the decomposer as well. So actually 3 is also decomposition. Okay, 3 is also decomposition. Okay, so let's do the question number 2. Saprophytic. What is saprophytic? Saprophytic, that means actually they feed on non-living material. Okay, non-living material, non-living substance. Okay, for example, our dead body is non-living, our feces is non-living, our urine is non-living. Okay, no life at all. So the saprophytic are involved in which process? Okay, number 1, photosynthesis, wrong. Okay, number 2, respiration, wrong. Okay, number 5, respiration, wrong. Okay, so only one and only one. Okay, also option C. Okay, so at least in this question, okay, you know that the carbon cycle. Okay, you know that what I draw is just like a circle. I use the curve to represent it, but in the question they may use the straight line to make it just like a rectangle. Okay, so don't only memorize this type of carbon cycle, because the question they may ask you in this way, in a circle one. Okay, so that's why I want you to use your brain, okay, to analyze these 3 steps, okay, to draw your own cycle by yourself. Okay, and also one more thing, you may think that it is just a funny thing, okay, but many students really do this wrong, because when they read this question, okay, when they read humus, okay, I don't know why, okay, I really don't know why, okay, they read it as human, and they ask me, Mr. Leung, animal la, plant la, okay, and then the arrow is pointing towards the human wall. Okay, so maybe the question there is the number 6 lah. Okay, so number 6, is it injection? Is it feeding? Actually, read the question very carefully. Is humus, not human. Okay, so one funny thing to remind: read the question carefully. Okay, so that's for the carbon cycle, and then we are going to move on to the nitrogen cycle.